Hey guys, it's me Harshan. Welcome back to my channel Baking Vibes. In today's video, I will be showing you how to make the perfect chocolate ganache, and I will also be addressing some of the problems that happen while making the ganache and will be sharing the solutions for them as well. So without any further ado, let's get started. So let us start the video by understanding what a ganache is. Now ganache is a mixture of cream and chocolate. So what we typically do to make a ganache is heat the cream and then pour the hot cream on top of the chocolate so that it melts. The heat of the cream will help to melt chocolate, and then we use a spoon or a whisk to just mix it together so that everything is well combined, and then we have this beautiful, luscious, delicious mixture called chocolate ganache. Now before actually we start making a ganache and talk about the more process of it, I would like to talk about the ingredients and how it affects the making of ganache. As you know, there are two ingredients, cream and chocolate. So first I would like to talk about the cream. So what cream should you use to make a ganache? So if you live in the US or in the Europe, then what you would use is a dairy whipping cream. So commonly it is known as heavy cream in the US and the double cream in the UK. But what about the people who live in countries such as India who don't have dairy whipping cream as frequently available as the non-dairy one? So please don't use a non-dairy whipping cream for making this ganache, but instead use the fresh cream. Now some of the common brands is Amul. Amul's fresh cream is available in almost all parts of the country. So go ahead and use that, because that's what I use to make my ganache, and every time it turns out just perfect. Now the only thing that you have to take in mind is that if you're making a whipped chocolate ganache, so for that what you would want to use is not the fresh cream but the heavy whipping cream. So for that you would have to search for the dairy whipping cream, and most of the common brand available in India is the Amul's whipping cream. It comes in the pink package and is full dairy, so you can use that to make your ganache if you want to make a whipped chocolate ganache. But other than that, I would suggest to use the Amul's fresh cream to make your ganache. So now that we have talked about the cream and which one to use, now let's move on to the second ingredient, which is chocolate. So if you live in countries like the US, any countries of the Europe, Canada, then finding the right chocolate shouldn't be a big problem for you, because there are hundreds and different brands of chocolate that's available, and that too good quality chocolate for you to choose from. But again, if you live in countries like India, then what brand of chocolate and which type of chocolate to use? Now I said which type of chocolate, not because I meant by saying dark chocolate, milk chocolate or white chocolate, because that is all according to your taste. But what I meant was to use a real chocolate or fake chocolate. Yes, that's right, there is fake chocolate in the market too. But what do we mean exactly by fake chocolate? So by fake chocolate we mostly mean as the chocolate compound. And why do we call it fake exactly? Because if you see, whenever you buy a chocolate bar or a real dark chocolate bar, then if you go to the ingredients or at the back of the package, it will say cocoa butter. Now this is the fat that is used in making chocolate. But if you go on the ingredients at the back of the packaging of a chocolate compound, you would not find cocoa butter anywhere but the vegetable fat to be used as the fat for making the chocolate. That is the only reason we call it fake chocolate or chocolate compound. Now there is no harm in using chocolate compound, as it also gives one of the best results. And to be fair and to be honest, I've been making my ganache for so many years from chocolate compound, and it tastes absolutely delicious even though they use vegetable fat instead of cocoa butter. So you see, there isn't a lot of difference in using any of those. Now if you're going to use a real dark chocolate, then if you live in India, then you could go for the brands such as Amul. They have really nice dark chocolate. Apart from that, you can also use Valenier or Calibou, Van Houten. There are so many brands to choose from. But to be honest, some of them might be a bit expensive. So if you don't want to invest so much in making your ganache, then what you can use is dark chocolate compound or milk chocolate compound. It will also give you very nice results. Now let's talk about the ratios. Now what do I mean exactly by ratios? So a chocolate ganache is made in the ratios mostly of 1:1, 2 is to 1, 1 is to 2, 3 is to 1. Now, this might be very confusing for you if you have not made ganache frequently, or if you don't require different consistencies of ganache. Yes, that's right, different consistencies of ganache. So, mostly when we use the term ratios for making ganache, we always take chocolate as the first one and the cream as the second one. This is mostly the common thing that people like to do. So if you say 1 is to 1 ratio, then what you mean is 1 part of chocolate to 1 part of cream. And if you say 2 is to 1, so it means 2 parts of chocolate and 1 parts of cream. Similarly, it goes on. So if you're following any of my recipes, and you always know that the ratios that I'm talking about will be always first the chocolate and then the cream. The most common ratio that I always end up using is the 1 is to 1, which means 1 part of chocolate to 1 part of cream. So how do we exactly measure these parts of chocolate and cream? So here you don't use spoons, cups or bowls or any kind of utensils like that, but what you use is a measuring weighing scale. Now these are super inexpensive and you can easily get these on Amazon. So if you're making chocolate ganache, then please invest in one kitchen scale, because it will make your ganache perfect, mostly perfect in the first go. So you always measure it out by weight. So by 1 is to 1 ratio, I mean, for example, 100 grams of chocolate to 100 grams of cream. And if you don't know already, then 1 gram is also equal to 1 ml. So the cream, if you think should be measured in ml, it will be the same as in grams. So if you take 100 grams of chocolate and 100 ml of or 100 grams of cream, it will give you a 1 is to 1 ratio ganache, which works perfectly for me most of the time. Now what do I mean by most of the time? You have to find the right ratio for your chocolate ganache. Now this might take a little bit of time depending on what kind of chocolate you're using. Yes, that's right. Your chocolate ganache will mostly depend on the type of chocolate that you're using, and not mostly around the environment and the temperatures that you're working on. The final product of your ganache will most probably depend on which type of chocolate you're using. So the different chocolate bars have different quantities of cocoa in them. The most common ones are 50%, 60%, 75, 90%, and be it any chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, this will be mostly shown on the packaging you have on the chocolate bar, and this will determine how your ganache will be made. As you see, the amount of cocoa that a chocolate bar has is actually the ingredient that sets up the chocolate firm. So that will also set your chocolate ganache firm. So if your chocolate has, say, about 75% of cocoa, then you will probably require more cream than the 1 is to 1 ratio. Or if your chocolate has less cocoa, say approximately less than 50%, more towards 40% or so, then you will probably require more chocolate and less cream. This will all be depending on how you make your ganache and which chocolate you actually use. So you might have to do a little bit experimentation if you are using real chocolate over here. But if you're using chocolate compound, then I don't think you will face this problem, because I have worked with 2 to 3 brands and it does not give me any problem. So here I have totally weighed out my ingredients, both of them, and it is 1 is to 1 ratio. So it is 250 grams of dark compound and 250 grams of fresh cream. So what I'm showing you today is the double boiler method. So for that, what we have to do is bring about an inch of water to a gentle simmer into a saucepan or any pot. Once the water starts simmering like this, we will lower the flame to approximately medium or medium low, and then on top of that we will place our bowl of cream. And now we will let the cream heat until it almost comes to an boil, or it is very hot to touch, while stirring in between. So it's been about 5 minutes since the cream is on heat and it is very hot to touch. So now I will turn the flame off and take the bowl off the heat. And now I will pour all of my cream on top of my chocolate compound. Make sure that you get all of the cream over there and do not waste any in the bowl. And now using my spatula, I will just push the chocolate pieces under the cream so that they get submerged, and then leave it around like this for about 5 minutes or so until the chocolate starts to melt. So it's been about 5 minutes, and now I will take my spatula and mix everything together, and you will see that the chocolate will start to melt very quickly and also get combined with the cream and make this delicious luscious looking chocolate ganache. Now it might happen that the heat of the cream may not be able to melt all of the chocolate pieces. So what to do in such case? What I like to do is place the whole ganache on the double boiler and then keep stirring in between until all the pieces are completely melted. So now as you can see, our ganache from the chocolate compound is completely ready. Now this is the runny stage that I like to call a runny stage, and if you let it sit on the kitchen counter or in the fridge for some time, then it will firm up a little bit, and then you can use it to spread on cakes or frost your cupcakes with that. Or if you want, you can also melt it a little bit and then use it as a drip. I love this ganache so much, and I've been making this for so many years that I can guarantee you that this will give you very nice taste and silky smooth ganache almost every time. Now we will also make a real chocolate ganache. So for that I have again taken 250 grams of real dark chocolate. I am using the brand Amul. It is not a sponsored video, and I have chopped them into small little pieces. Now I have also taken 250 grams of fresh cream which I have heated, and I am pouring it on top. So again I am starting with the 1:1 ratio, and then I will add or deduct ingredients as and when required. We will use the same process, take out all the cream out of the bowl on top of chocolate, and then use the spatula to submerge the chocolate under the cream and let it sit for about 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes, so now let us see how our chocolate is melted. So we will start stirring it, and you can see that it has melted way better than the chocolate compound. Now we will keep on mixing it until everything is nice and well combined. Now the chocolate is almost completely combined in with the cream, and if you can see, then this is not the right consistency that a ganache should look like. Even though we use the same ratio 1:1, but the difference here was the cocoa butter and the vegetable fat. So that is why if you can see that our ganache does not look alike. Here I am also bringing in the dark compound ganache for reference, and you can see it is nice and velvety, silky smooth liquid in the 1:1 ratio. But if you look closely to our real dark chocolate ganache, it is very thick and it is also a bit broken, which means the fats are separated. So now let's see how we will address this problem. So to fix this problem of a broken chocolate ganache, what I will be doing is adding more cream. So I will convert this ratio from 1:1 to 1:2. So I will not add directly the whole 250 grams of cream once again. I will add it in 4 batches, approximately about 62 grams in each addition, and then keep mixing it so that I will know where to stop, because sometimes you might only need 1 to 1.5 ratio, sometimes you might even go to 1:2. Okay, so I added the last 62 grams of the cream off camera, and now this is how the ganache is finally looking. It looks so close to the compound ganache. It is pourable, it is drippable, and it is also silky smooth. So I know that for sure that once it starts to set, it will be spreadable and also pipeable. Now I will tell you how to store your chocolate ganache. The best way to store it is either in the fridge or on the kitchen counter, but with the cling film on top of it. So now I will show you how to do that. So what you need to do is take your cling wrap or cling film, and instead of wrapping your bowl like this, you have to press your cling film against the chocolate ganache that you made, so that a layer of cream does not get formed on top of your ganache, and it is all silky smooth. And now you can keep this in the fridge. That's what I like to do. But if you live in places where your kitchen is cold itself and your top is also very cold, then you can just keep your ganache like this and it will firm up eventually. Now let's talk about a few problems that might occur when you are making a chocolate ganache. So what might happen that when you are making your ganache, it might look just perfectly fine, but after some time, when it gets time to set and it is set in either in the fridge or on the kitchen counter, it might turn out that your ganache is rock hard and it just won't come out of the bowl, or it might just tear up the crumbs of your cake. Now this just means that your ganache has too much of chocolate in it and it has firmed up really much. So what would you do to fix this problem? Well, it's pretty simple. You would just add a little bit more hot cream to it, a little by little, until you reach the proper consistency, and then you will have your proper ganache once again. Now, a second problem might be that your ganache is too loose. Now, what do we mean by the ganache is too loose? That even if you keep it in the fridge, it just won't set properly. So what would you want to do is you would obviously need to add more chocolate in it so that it has more cocoa in it, and then it has time to get set perfectly in your fridge or even on the kitchen counter, and you will have your perfect ganache once again. The one more problem that might occur while making your ganache is that it might split. That means the cream might split and you may see the ganache totally broken and there might be oil surfacing on top. So what you need to do right now is most probably you would need to add a little bit more cream at a time to make sure that it is emulsified properly, and if you want you can also use an immersion blender to mix it properly, and then try to keep it in the fridge for some time, and then you will have your proper ganache once again. And that was my whole guide on how to make ganache and fix the problems that might occur while making it. Even though making ganache is pretty simple, but you just need to find the right ingredients for it and the perfect method which is suitable for you. And once you find the proper ingredients, the right ratio which you would like to use, then I would suggest to stick with it and don't use different ingredient frequently, so that you will have the perfect consistent ganache every time. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, then don't forget to like it, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will see you guys soon. Until then, keep baking and stay happy.